Welcome in, Lucky Drifter.
Hello.
Lucky, are you at least 18 and are you a believer?
Yes, sir. I'm 25. Name's Marcos, and I am a believer.
All right, Marcos, what God do you believe in?
The God of the Bible and the Old Testament. Some would even argue that that would be like the God of Islam as well, but I'd say the Abrahamic faith, right?
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. I don't think the God of Islam is the same as the God of the Bible. I know they think it is,
It
but it
isn't.
clearly isn't.
Just like you know, I would say the Church of Latter-day Saints isn't the same Jesus Christ as the one that we got, right? But
Well, they have a very different view of Jesus than the other Christians. There's a linguistic
similar to
argument.
Islam, I'd say, to
Yeah,
some extent. But
right. Okay. Now, do you believe that God is all good or only partially good?
I think he's all good by definition.
Sure. Yeah. So, then you would say that anything he tells you to do is good because he told you?
Yeah, but would he tell me to do anything?
Yeah.
Okay, that you're making that, right? You're saying that's the
No,
case?
the Bible says that's the case.
That he tells people all the time to do just anything?
He tells people to do things. So,
Under certain frameworks, right?
do you think that
Wait, you just
slaughtering?
you
Do,
just you just it's yes or no, right? Certain frameworks? I'd love to answer your next question.
that's not a question. That's a statement.
It's yes, does he make him do things under certain frameworks? Yes or no, right?
You didn't say that part. You just said certain frameworks, which wasn't a question.
My bad. Sorry, I wasn't trying to. I was just what I'm trying to get at is he doesn't just make people do things, right? There's a context behind it.
No one's saying there's no context.
Well, isn't context important?
I think it is. I never said it wasn't.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you believe that people should be punished for crimes only that they commit, or should they be punished for crimes that, say, perhaps their spouse or their leader commits?
I think that people can take punishments if they are like willing to sacrifice for somebody. Yes,
I
I
didn't
don't.
say willing.
Yeah, like it's an option. Like if I'm in court and somebody is gonna be punished for something, I'm like, hey, I want to take that punishment upon myself. I think that's just.
I didn't say anything about willing. I said if person A commits a crime, is it
Hmm.
acceptable to punish the person's cousin or wife or anybody else for that person's crime?
If the other person is willing, then yeah. If not, then no.
I didn't say willing.
So then no, it's not.
Okay, so no, it's not. Okay. Now, are you aware that God does this?
That he has done this, yes, in the Old Testament.
Was it a good thing that he did it?
I think since he's all just, and for me not to be like stepping on my own toes, then yeah, it would have been all good.
Okay, so it is a good thing then to punish people for crimes they never committed.
Let's get to what you're trying to get at. What's the verse? And because clearly you're trying to lead me somewhere.
Well, sure, but I mean, it's a logical conclusion, right? If God
So yeah,
punishes
I'd like to
people,
come to that conclusion myself, right? So bring me to that place. Let's get to there. Let's work it out.
okay. Do you know the story of David and Bathsheba?
Yeah, sadly.
That's a tough one. Yeah. What was the punishment that was handed out for that crime?
The death of his infant that was given to him by God. Yeah.
And what else? There's a second punishment.
Um, I'm pretty new Christian myself. Like I actually strayed from the faith and I'm coming back to it now. I don't remember. Could you elaborate for me?
Yeah, he says 10 of David's wives are going to be graped. It says, "Thus saith the Lord, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he will lie with your wives in broad daylight, for you did it in secret, but I would do this thing before all Israel
In
in
public, yeah.
broad daylight." And that it does actually happen.
No,
Absalom.
yeah, historically, yeah.
Yep. Okay. So was it a good thing that the wives got graped for David's sin?
No, but were they also taking part of the sin, right? So
No.
it's they're all suffering. What do you mean? No,
They didn't take part in David's sin.
no, not at all.
Uh,
When you become married with somebody, you're one of their flesh. So you are. Well, I think you're
Do
taking things out of
do you think
context there.
the wives are responsible for David taking Bathsheba and committing adultery?
Well, back in the day, I'm not saying that that was right, but like if you're married to somebody and there's the king and whatever, like what he was doing wasn't right even by standards just because he was king. That's a vivid. That's why it's very pointed out that David is not a good role model. He's a king, but not a good role model.
What responsibility do the wives have in David's crime?
Well, since they're one flesh, they should be doing something about it, right?
Okay, so you would think then that in the American justice system, if a husband commits a crime, the wives should be sent to jail?
Oh, I didn't say that because our system isn't based on those laws. We're based on Judeo-Christian
No,
laws.
but
It's much different than the
in the
Dale
ideal
law.
system, in God's system, which is the ideal system,
That's the old system. That's you're calling it the ideal system. I
is
live by the new covenant in
is
Jesus
God's
Christ.
system ideal?
Yes, the new covenant of Jesus Christ. Yeah,
No, no. Is God's justice ideal?
yeah.
Is
I'd assume so.
is
That's
there a
what I live
better
by. Yeah.
justice?
Then God, no.
Oh,
He is all just, right?
then God's version of justice is the ideal justice. So why wouldn't you want it?
I said I'm hoping I live by it, by the New Testament, by the new covenant of Jesus
We're
Christ.
not talking about covenants. We're talking about justice. It's a word, not a covenant.
Okay, why do you think like the Jewish people, even follow God? It's by a covenant. They made an agreement and they
Th-
want to follow Him,
but the
and
covenant
He's
has
good.
nothing to do with the definition of justice. Do you know what the definition of justice is?
It's doing things that are right. You know.
No, justice is when you get what you deserve. Like if you do good things, you get good things. If you do bad things, you get bad things. You get punished proportionally to what you did.
Okay, now let me make this very clear then. I am a believer in Jesus Christ, and He makes it very clear that no sin is different than the other. So justice for sins is like if that guy robs a, I know it sounds silly, but if somebody steals a chocolate bar versus somebody rapes somebody, they're all deserving of death. It's sin nonetheless.
Yeah, the Yahweh doesn't think so. Yahweh gives different punishments for all the sins, but I think that's kind of a different topic, and I don't want to get sidetracked on it. We're starting to figure out why it's
But that's the
bad.
main punishment for sin, right? Death.
No, I don't think so.
It makes it very clear.
We'll try again, Lucky. We all know everyone dies. That's not a question. We're talking about what happens while we're alive. Okay.
Punishment for sin.
Yeah, the wages of sin is death. We're talking about
There
your
you go.
punishment while you're alive. You and I are
Not
alive right
everybody gets
now,
yeah, but not everybody gets punished for sin while they're alive.
right?
Like what the
But
heck,
we're
man?
talking about people who do get punished while they're alive.
And
Okay,
what, you're trying to justify somebody else's
so
punishment? That
so,
doesn't I don't
so just follow the conversation. Okay, so God does punish people while they're still alive.
I agree.
Not everyone, but he does. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, as it turns out that the punishment given to David, if you're saying the punishment given to David is definitionally just, that means it's definitionally just in all worlds to punish wives for their husbands' crimes.
Is that what Jesus comes proclaiming after?
We're
Because I
talk
don't think
we're
that's the
talking about
case.
definitions. We're not talking about Jesus. We're talking about definitions right now.
But you're defining it as a sense of like one punishment is equal to other people. We're not all equal. I
I,
think God makes that very clear.
I never said we were. I'm talking about the definition of words right now. The definition of the word just doesn't change. Like justice is justice.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, if it's not just to punish people for somebody else's crime, then it's not just in any time period to do that.
I get what you're trying to get at. Mhm.
Okay. So if it's not just to do that, it doesn't matter if it happened a long time ago or if it happened today. It still breaks the definition of justice. It's now injustice.
Yeah, currently, yes.
Okay. So what that means is that what God did was unjust.
In these times, yeah, because we have opinions, yeah.
No, not in
Good
these
and bad is
times.
defined by
No,
us. Yeah.
the definition of justice doesn't change.
Yeah, it should. It's beyond that. Yeah, it's space and
Okay.
time. Mhm.
So if the definition of justice doesn't change, then that means what God did was unjust.
No, but we change and we're
I,
deciding
I didn't
what's good or
say
not. That's what I'm
I
trying
didn't
to
say
say.
we change. I'm talking about definitions.
Yeah, so we change and we're trying to say that this definition of justice isn't just anymore. That's what I'm trying to get at.
No, no, that's not what I'm getting at all. You already agreed that justice has a definitive meaning and that it can't change. The
Yeah,
definition of
justice itself, yeah.
the
But
def
our opinions on justice can. It's very clear.
no, no.
That's why it
How we think it should be applied is different than what does it mean.
well, that's what you're trying to get at. You're saying,
No, I'm
listen,
not.
the way it was applied back then and over there should be applied to all
I'm
times
not
because
talking about
that's
the
how it works.
application. I'm talking about the meaning of the word. So if the meaning of justice doesn't change, right? That means that something that was just today was just 100 years ago. Something that was just 1,000 years ago is just today.
I think it can be. I don't think it always is.
Then the definition changes.
Yes, just like the times.
So you
Because
just said
just is
well,
an opinion by us.
definitions don't
Uh,
change though.
By our standards, they do. What do you mean all the time?
No, no, the definition of justice, the idea of what justice is, never changes. It doesn't matter if you
I am
change.
a flawed person that has a silly brain. So yes, by my meaning, I can make it change all the time. I get what you're trying to say of definitively, but there is no definitively. Name a definitive thing then.
Give me one alternative definition of the word justice then.
Alternative? What do you mean?
Give me one definition of justice when it's ever meant something other than getting what you're owed.
Grace. That's what the New Testament
That's a
teaches.
different word.
But what I'm trying to get at is that we were all supposed to be served justice and death, and Jesus comes with
He
grace,
can't help but
saying,
preach. They
"Well,
they they,
that's
they get stuck in the
reality, right?"
preaching loop.
Well, that's what I
So
believe, though. We can go back to the topic,
Lucky,
but I'm just saying.
just so you're aware, we all know the gospel. You don't have to tell anyone. We've
Yeah,
all
the
heard
good
it. We
news.
all read John 3:16. We all know it. None of that's necessary, right? So what we're talking about is why you think God's justice changes, because as far as I can tell, it's never just, and it has never been just.
What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't change, but our opinion does because we have an idea of what is good
But
and
I'm
bad.
not asking about your opinion. I'm asking about the objective definition of the idea of justice. Justice isn't a concept.
Ch- No, but
It's
it
a
is because
it's a
look. You're
thing.
saying what happened to David's wives was horrible.
It,
I agree, but back in the day, people didn't think so.
it doesn't matter
So
what
what are you
they
gonna do?
think. We're talking about what is actually just, not what people think is just.
If you were back in the day and you were killed for that, it doesn't matter what you think either. You're dead.
But we're not asking what people think about it. We're asking about what meets the definition of the word. And the definition of the word just is that innocent people don't get punished for their partner's crimes. That's the
Are they innocent
definition.
if they're one flesh with the other person? Are they
Yes.
innocent if they're taking on their crimes? Like me and my girlfriend are not one, obviously, but if we get married, we are one of flesh. And I don't live in a country where that enforces any of that, but by Sharia law in some of these Islamic countries, that is the case.
Okay,
Well,
so
so
if your wife steals from the local Walmart, should you go to prison instead of her?
if I willingly ask
I
to,
didn't
then yeah,
say
but not
anything about
no.
willingly.
I don't think that's right,
You
and I don't
keep
think the
adding it.
gospel I
If
don't
in
think the gospel
fact, we're
teaches
not
that.
talking about the gospel. If in fact your wife got caught doing a crime, would it be fair to let her go free and you go to prison? I'm not asking if you're willing to do it.
No, it's not fair.
Okay, that doesn't meet the definition of justice, does it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the definition of just doesn't change. So
Mhm.
what that means is that the wives of David who didn't commit David's crime should not have been punished for David's crimes.
You're saying it's unjust, yes, but I think if you grab one verse in context like that instead of looking the past verse and the next verse, you can easily misconstrue that and be like, look, it's just unjust.
Well,
Who knows what the
show
wives
me
did?
how it's just.
So now you're asking me to justify why it's just.
Justify it. Show me how.
Now, what I'm trying to get at is that people will take verses like this and in other countries and other religions and use it to justify. What I'm trying to get at is that if you're a Christian and you're trying to justify God's all good, I'm justifying by the means of the gospel, the New Testament, not the old. I live by a
I'm
new
asking to
covenant.
justify this story.
My justification for it is that they lived during a certain set of times. Same thing as like the Islamic regimes over there. I don't think it's right what they're doing, but they do.
Does God's justice change?
No, that's why
Oh,
I live by the New
is
Testament
God
of Jesus
required
Christ,
to
and that's
do
the
things
final
according to the
covenant.
customs of the time?
No,
Oh,
he
so
chooses
this
to.
is not a good argument then.
But that's why he comes at the perfect time when things were
He
getting pretty
doesn't.
radical, and then he does. I do think he
Listen,
does,
the preaching
and he
loop's never going to help.
preaches.
Just pay attention to the story.
Okay,
Jesus has
I get that
nothing
you're.
to do with what happened to David. We're talking about David right now.
Why doesn't he's a direct descendant? That's the whole
Because
point of Jesus.
because Jesus has nothing to do with why David was punished.
Why not?
Because Jesus doesn't show up in the story. Jesus has nothing to do with David's wives being raped.
Wait a second. Isn't this just like a reflection of what happens? What happened for David to even receive this punishment?
God chose it.
God chose it. What did David do?
David sinned, and then God said,
How did he sin?
then God, he committed adultery,
He didn't
possibly.
just commit adultery. He killed the lady's wife. She sent him down to battle, front lines.
I
The guy
know.
came back, slept in his throne room,
Did
and then
David's wives do it?
refused to eat.
Did David's wives do that?
David's wives knew. What do you
Did they
mean?
do it?
They knew.
Did they do it?
They're just as guilty. Yeah.
They're just as guilty.
They knew. They knew they were just
how?
as guilty.
Oh, show me where it says they knew that.
How would you not know
Show
they
me.
knew?
Show me.
Now you want me to justify that?
Show me
At
it. Show me in the
times, of
scripture.
course I would have known. 9
Show me in the
wives. He didn't
scripture.
chill with them at all times.
Show me in the
Show me in the
scripture
scripture where it doesn't.
where it says his wives
Show me
knew
in the
about
scripture
it.
where it doesn't.
You're the one that said they knew.
I'm assuming, yeah. They're the 10 wives at the time. Everybody's family
Why?
oriented. Why wouldn't they?
Why would he tell his wives? Why would he go in and tell his wives, "Hey, I'm gonna go commit adultery on you guys"?
Because it's common at the times, and he's the king. He could have done it. He
So
didn't have
so
to. He could
you
have done whatever the fuck
so
he wanted.
you think
That's my argument.
so you think
Right
that
there.
David walked into his harem and said, "Hey guys, I'm gonna go collect this
Well, he
woman
had a
over
harem, so he
here
admitted that.
and I'm gonna commit adultery with her. Don't tell
He could
anyone."
have.
You think that's what happened?
He wasn't a good guy. I'll tell you
It
that.
was
So, yeah.
crazy.
Okay, look at Judea. Look at the
The
kingdom.
pretzels you
So it
have
wasn't.
to turn
I'm not
yourselves
gonna.
into
I'm
to
not gonna.
justify
I'm
this
not
is
gonna.
wild.
I'm not gonna sit here and act like David's a prophet or one of my messiahs. He's an example of what bad people are. He's an example of I'm bad too, and I would be put in the same boat
So
if I was given absolute power.
so let's finish fleshing this out. So the wives in your, I'll even grant you that what you're saying is
I hope being at least not stepping on my own toes, and I hope we're getting somewhere. I know this might sound a little bit silly, but I do think we're getting somewhere at least.
Oh, we are getting somewhere, that's for sure. Okay, so let's even admit, let's say, for example, well, shit, maybe David was such a piece of shit that he did tell his wives, "I'm going to go commit adultery and have this
Well, he was a
this
piece of
man
shit, though.
killed." Let's imagine that happened, right?
Okay.
Now, did the wives do anything about it?
Well, as of what I know, no. I'd have to
How,
look at
how
it
do you
from a
know?
theological and historical. But I don't read the Torah
Well,
like that. I don't
how
read
do
the
you
Old
know?
that they didn't or that they did.
Yeah, how do you know that they didn't try to warn somebody?
That's what I'm saying. I don't. I'd have to
But
figure that out.
but you added
I've never gone into the story that
okay,
in
so
depth.
so
Let's get
Lucky,
to the
so
point.
you added the part to the Bible that said they knew. Now
I didn't add.
so
I'm saying
now
that
so now
historically, he
adding
had a
so now
harem
I'm
and
adding to the Bible that they did tell
okay, go for
somebody.
it. Okay, who do they tell?
But I don't have to tell you. It's not in the Bible.
Okay, then let's continue with the story.
See
Then let's
how
say they told the
making
high
things
priest.
up works? You can just make anything up if it's not in the book.
No, I just said I'm okay with it. Let's go with your story. Let's say she told one of the high priests. Let's say the high priest said,
Cool.
"That's the king of Israel. I don't
so the
want to do anything
wives
about it." Now what?
yeah, so the wives
Now
found
everybody's
out
guilty.
and the
I even
wives
think the high priest should be put to death.
so the wives found out and the wives said, "Hey, King David's about to do some shit, right?" Now as
Was
it
the high
turned
priest? Yep.
well, as it turned out, the high priest wasn't executed. It was the women that were raped. So
Mhm, mhm.
we still end up with the same problem, no matter how much we add to the Bible, which is that David's wives,
Who put out the sins? Was it
Dave,
just people doing stuff, or
David's
did God
wife,
actually rape the
David's
women?
wives didn't commit the sin. David did.
Yeah, and the people also committed the sin. You're making it seem like there's a God up
No,
there
no.
going, make these
Who,
people do bad things,
who
make these people rape
committed who
people.
committed adultery?
People.
No, no. In the story we just read, who committed the
David.
adultery?
And
Oh,
who raped
okay.
David's wives?
And did David take the punishment, or did the wives take the punishment?
Well, David lost his kid, lost his empire, and his wives. I'd say it's a punishment,
So
man. I don't
it's a
know
punishment
to
for
what extent, but
who?
it's
So
punishment.
so the baby got executed via
Mhm,
sickness, and the wives got graped. Sounds like
mhm.
everybody got punished but David.
Sure, if you want to think about it that way. I
Yeah,
think you're misconstruing the story, but sure.
I'm not at all. What punishment?
I
What
think if I'm
punishment did David
eternally
get?
alone, I lose my kingdom, I lose my mom, my family, my house, my dog. I think it's a punishment for
What
me
punishment did David get?
to be alone, to be left alone. What do you
That
mean? That
that's a
sucks.
punishment.
For me, it is. Yeah. What do you mean?
Being
We put
alone
people
is a
in prison,
punishment.
solitary. What do you mean? We put people alone all the time. That is a punishment. People kill themselves all the
He's
time for
not
being alone.
alone.
What are you
He's a
talking about?
king. He has a whole
Oh,
court.
he has a whole. So now it's justified because he has people that serves him.
No, no. I'm saying he's not
No, 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 no,
alone.
no, no, no! Don't backtrack. Don't backtrack, bro.
I'm
He is
not. I'm
alone.
not backtracking.
If we look at the
He's not
story, okay, this is
alone.
actually in the story. He stays alone, praying by himself. The high priest always try to comfort him. He's like, "No, I'm not about this." He's not eating.
That's not
He's
in the
fasting.
story.
That's not in the
So
story that he's
so
fasting,
in the
begging for
story
God's
in
grace.
the
Do you
story
want me to like bring it up?
in the
'Cause that is the thing.
story his court is with him and they
At all
ask
times.
him about his fasting. So he was in fact not alone.
So they were just chilling with him at all times.
I,
No,
I
that's
didn't
not
say
true
I
at
didn't say
all.
they were chilling with him at all times. What I'm saying is King David was not alone and
When you are
and
fasting and he
being
refused to be anointed, you must be alone.
and being alone is not a punishment. So you think David being alone for a week is punishment?
That's that what you make it seem to be? He was just
That's what
alone
you
for a week?
said. You said being alone is a punishment.
I'm saying, yeah, it can be a punishment. Yeah,
So
I'm not
you
saying
think
being alone for a
David
week is a punishment
so David being alone fasting for a week is a punishment?
because that's all he did. And that he was repenting and
Is it
asking for mercy,
I'm
which he didn't
asking
get. What did God
is it a
grant him? He
punishment?
granted him that instead.
Is that the punishment he received?
The punishment in my eyes that he received was abandonment. He felt abandoned. right? Like he abandoned God, and now God was abandoning him in a
So,
sense.
so God couldn't make David feel abandonment without having his child killed and his wives raped?
I'm not saying he couldn't. He did it in that manner.
No.
Why are
So
you arguing that
so then
he
it's
should have done it a
so
different
then
manner?
it's
Because you have justice.
completely unnecessary then.
You're saying it's unnecessary. What's a more just manner of doing it? Could
It's
you explain it to me?
definitionally unnecessary. If he could do
No,
it
I get that, but could you give me a
if
more
he
just
could do
manner
it,
then?
if he can do it another way, well, here's what I would
Could
have
you give me a
done.
more just
You know
manner?
what I would have done? I
Okay.
would have put him in prison the rest of his life.
So if you were God, you would put him in prison for the rest of his life?
Yeah, I put a new king on the throne. I would get rid of the bad king the same way he did with King
Did God
Saul.
want a king on the Yeah, did God want a king on the throne to begin with?
No,
Well then,
according to Samuel, no.
all of this right here is consequence of what? People being people and sinning against people?
No, this is God's
No, that's what it
consequences.
is.
So God decided what the
That's what it
consequences would
is.
be.
God literally said, "Listen, if you guys have a king, you guys are gonna fight against each other.
But I need
You
you to
guys are gonna
actually pay
fight
attention to
against
what we're talking
nations."
about. We're talking about the consequences that were given to David, his child, and the wives. Those consequences were chosen by God. He didn't have to choose those consequences. He's all powerful. He could have chose any consequences he want, which means the consequences that he did choose are definitionally unnecessary.
You say they're unnecessary. I think they tell us stories that
No,
we can look back to.
they're no, by definition, if something is not necessary, then it is unnecessary.
Let's say we played out your form of justice, and that put out in the story in the
No,
Bible. What do I learn from that?
before
What do
you
I
move
learn from that? Tell me.
on, I need you to recognize how words work. Do you agree that if something's not necessary, meaning it could be another way, that then it becomes unnecessary?
I think that it can be unjust.
I didn't
I
say
think that
anything about justice. I'm
can be
talk
unnecessary.
I'm
Can be
I'm
unnecessary. But I
talking
think
about
like
the
when you do something
definition.
like build a
Okay,
computer, you do things a certain way,
Lucky,
so then it can be
listen,
necessary, right?
Lucky, more talking won't help your position. The only thing that will
I was
help
just
your position is listening to the words coming out of my mouth and responding to them. So we're talking about the definition of necessary and unnecessary. It's true, yes or no, that something is either necessary or it's unnecessary.
by the standards you're playing it, yes, sure.
No, that's the definition of the word. Necessary means it couldn't be any other way.
Hmm,
That's the
okay, I'll
definition of
entertain
the
it for now.
word.
I get that that's the definition of the word, but like you're making things seem so black and white, man.
I'm just using definitions here. Okay. So if something is necessary or unnecessary, it can't be something in the middle. It's either necessary or it's unnecessary. So that means if the punishment that David gave, or the punishment that God gave, if there's, let's say, 1,000 different punishments he could have gave because he's all powerful, that means any punishment he gives is definitionally speaking, it's unnecessary. It's a decision. Do you
Sure.
do you see? Oh, okay. Now, so what that means is that God didn't have to do it this way. He chose to do it this way, which means not only is he doing something that I think is unjust, he's also doing something that's not good because he could have punished David in a way that caused less amount of harm, couldn't he?
Yeah, you're saying that if he just stripped him of his keep and then locked him away, it would have been just as just.
What I'm saying is that the person who commits the crime should be punished.
No, and I agree with you there, but your argument is also if you because that's what you said. If you stripped him of his keep, put him in prison, it would be just as just.
I
I asked you
I
how do you
said it would be
enforce
more
this justice? That's
just
what you do. More just even. Okay, great.
because
Why would that be more just?
the person who committed the crime actually received the punishment and the innocent parties didn't get punished in my scenario.
So he gets put to jail,
Mhm.
and then that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Why do you need more?
What does that teach?
Doesn't teach anything. It teaches that justice means you get what's coming to you. If you commit a
Now,
crime,
I
then
think
you
what's
get punished for
taught in
it.
this story, which is pretty clear, at least that's why people grab these verses to teach, right? I could be wrong, that's but I'm pretty sure. Um, it's to show by example is that sometimes when you do something in this life, it can be brought back to you in ways that you don't want it to, right? Like people believe in karma. I'd say like that's a good eventful way of thinking of it. No,
That's not true if God is in control of the consequences.
no, I agree. God is in control of the consequences, but we are also control of our like lives, right? We have free will. We make these decisions. Our impacts affect the future, right? Like that's the whole point of us existing.
I don't think so. So what I'm
You don't
saying,
think so? You think everything's just
no,
preordained and God just watches it all and it's all set in stone and that's it?
no, literally the opposite. I don't think there's a purpose for us being here.
No, I
So,
get that. You don't believe in God at all, but I do, so entertain the fact.
but I'm just telling you what I believe. I don't believe there's a
Okay, we can get
purpose.
to that then. I'd like to hear
I know
exactly.
you believe there's a purpose. I don't. So
Okay, so why do you believe there's no
so
purpose then?
we're talking about justice right here, and I'm still waiting for either a concession or a solid answer as to how this is just or unjust.
I think that this is a story to show how justice could be shown. Like, I think that's what this is about,
Where
really.
was
And I
justice
think when
sown?
I think to David and to show to the kingdom, right? To show that like things aren't always delivered in the way that you want. Like it's not just punishment like on you; it could be punishment on
Would
people
you be
around you.
okay if your wife committed adultery? Would you be okay if the judge said you're going to get raped because your wife committed adultery?
No, but if I was willing to, then yeah, man.
I didn't say you were willing. So why wouldn't you be okay with it?
Well, like I just said, if I wasn't willing, then no. But
Why?
because it's the willingness, sacrifice. That's what
What
the gospel teaches. Like there's
I'm
no
not
other love
asking
but
if you're
sacrifice.
willing. Stop adding that to it. So if your wife commits adultery, let's
Hmm.
imagine it's a criminal offense, and the
Hmm.
judge says, "Okay, now, lucky drifter, you have to get raped because of your wife's crime." Is that just?
They believe that's what justice is. I'm gonna say no. That's not what the gospel teaches.
I'm asking what you believe. Do you
I
believe
just
it's
said no.
just?
No, it's not.
Okay, and what's unjust about it?
That I'm getting punished for somebody else's crime unwillingly.
Is it ever just to punish people for someone else's crime?
Willingly, yeah. Sacrifice.
Unwillingly, stop
Unwillingly, then
adding
no.
things. Okay, so unwillingly,
It'll
no.
never be. Why would it be? Like,
Okay,
by definition, is it's called
then
unwilling.
then just concede if it was never good, if it was never just to punish somebody for crimes they didn't commit but somebody else committed, then it wasn't just when it happened to David's wives and his child.
Did God rape those wives?
He caused it.
He caused it?
Yep.
He caused some random man to get the thoughts and then go rape somebody?
Yep.
Or was there some, or were things preordained to happen in that way?
Nope.
Because David's impact affected other things, right? Because like if you do something like you cut down a tree, the tree's gonna fall down. Kind of how that happens, right?
Nope. God says I'm causing it.
Nope.
He says I
Nope.
will
So
raise
if I
up.
cut down a tree and God doesn't want to, the
Do
tree
you
will
want me to
stand,
read
right?
it?
But
Do you
God
want
don't
me to
play
read you
that.
the verse or not?
You can read the verse.
Verse 11, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes. God says, I'm doing it. It's a punishment. That's how
How do you know
punishments
trouble wasn't
work.
already being raised already?
It doesn't matter. It's a punishment.
Yeah, nonetheless, and he's the one that accepted the like. But yeah, he did the thing. You get the punishment. Not everybody does in this life. He did. What are you
Right.
trying to argue?
So God said, this is the punishment for the thing that you're doing, which means God's doing it.
Yeah,
Okay. That means God caused the 10 wives to be raped.
I think he played a part in warning him, but I don't think he raped the
He
wives.
didn't
Yeah,
warn them. He says, I'm doing it. It's like
well,
you
okay.
didn't, like, you don't, like, why do you hate
I
God's
get that you
word?
grabbed the verse. What was this originally written in? It's the Torah, right? Probably Hebrew. Is this how exactly it translates?
It's roughly the same. Yeah. As it turns out, I actually can read Hebrew.
Because you know things are backwards. I'm Portuguese and Brazilian. When I speak Brazilian and Portuguese, the
Hmm.
language is completely backwards.
Hmm.
Like when I say open the door, it's door open. So
Hmm.
context, things are important.
Yeah. We know how first person verbs work.
I'm glad.
Right. So God says, I'm doing it. I'm causing it. And you don't even need him to
In
say that.
English, he says, "I'm doing it." No, what does it say? That's what I'm trying to get at. Context is important, right?
So I'm telling
What happened?
you, God said, I'm doing this thing. That's why it's a punishment. If God's not doing it, then it's not a punishment.
Can a punishment be had if it's not made by God?
No,
You don't think so, right?
not if God's involved. No, if God says, I'm punishing you, and then he doesn't actually do anything, then he's not punishing you.
And that's what you see this as. Like he didn't actually do anything. He just affected the people around him.
No, he caused it to happen. He said he's causing it to happen.
Yeah, but you don't see it as a punishment on David. You see it as like, oh, he's affecting everybody's lives.
Yeah, it's a punishment for the wives and the baby because they're the ones that were harmed by the punishment, not David.
Yeah, David is just innocent, free. He gets to be king forever longer, and he lives a peaceful life, right?
Yeah, that's the problem. He should have been locked
But
up.
he doesn't. That's not historically true. What the
That
hell are you talking
I
about,
know
bro?
it. I know that's what happened. That's not what happens. That's why it's an unjust story. because the
But
guy
what I'm trying to say is
because the
that's not what
guy who
happens
d-
to David
the
either.
guy who
He
did the
does lose his
crime should
kingdom.
have been
He does
punished.
lose his wives.
No,
Not all of them get.
he dies as king.
He dies as king of Israel.
He's
Yeah,
still
like
the
on the
king when he
battlefield.
dies.
Yeah,
No,
like
not
in
in battle.
Jerusalem.
He dies in a bed, surrounded by his loved ones and a hot little girl named Abishag.
Sounds about right.
You haven't heard the
Yeah.
story. In fact, I'll just read you the story. It's going to be in First Kings, chapter 1 or chapter 2. I always forget. Chapter 1. This is my favorite story of David. King David was old and advanced in years, and although they covered him with clothes, he could not get warm. So his servant said to him, "Let a young virgin be sought for my lord the king, and let her wait on the king and be his attendant. Let her lie in your bosom, so that my lord the king may be warm." So they searched for a beautiful young woman throughout all the territory of Israel and found Abishag the Shunammite and brought her to the king. The young woman was very beautiful. She became the king's attendant and served him. But the king did not know her sexually, I'm sure. So that's how he died. He didn't die in battle.
Wasn't Israel under attack at that time? Like I'm pretty sure like he was getting closed in on all sides when he was in bed dying, right? No?
Not while he
Or
was
am I misplacing story?
no, not while he's dying. He was under attack when the sin happened. He was under attack by the armies that were being led by his son Absalom.
His son did not like him. Actually, isn't that kind of how like his whole thing ended by his son?
Yeah, his son marched into the palace, took the wives on top of the palace, pitched a tent, and in a display of force over his father, slept with 10 of his wives on top of the palace in front of all Israel as a declaration that I'm in charge now.
Man, if you don't think David got punished at all for all of this, then yeah, you're nuts. But it's okay.
Do you think the punishment was
Do better
fair?
yourself.
Do
I think there's a punishment
you
definitely
think
for
the
sure.
punishment was fair to have the wives graped rather
If
than
that was my dad, like that was David, God forbid,
you
my
know
dad would have had a heart attack. My dad.
if there's going to be somebody getting raped, it should have been David. They should have took David on top of the palace and raped his ass.
I agree because I'm a human person that thinks I know what is just, but
So why does
yeah,
your system
whatever.
of justice differ from God's?
Because I'm a human that believes in right and wrong, and the apple, right? That's in the beginning of the story. That in the beginning there was just right and there was just wrong, and then when we eat the apple, we're all up for a debate. Here's what I think is right. Here's what I think is right. No, I think is right,
Well, that's not
and
what it
that's a very,
says.
but that's a very common case. People. That's why ISIS uses their terms and whatnot. That's why religions always pull out a verse and then use it to justify a means to an ends.
That's not what Genesis says at all. It says that they didn't know right from wrong and that after they ate the apple, then they knew good and evil.
Because there was only good before, there was no evil.
Yeah, but after they ate the apple, they had the knowledge of good and evil.
So things just were before. There was no
Yeah, I agree.
opinion came after.
That's what I'm saying.
So things just were.
Yeah,
Opinion comes after.
things just were. That's what I'm saying. They had no idea what good and bad was. Afterwards, it says
But there
they,
was only good. Bad came into the world
but it
after.
says
That's
they
sin entered the
knew.
world.
They knew is what it says.
Yeah, so that yeah, but sin entered the world. So they knew only good. There was only good.
No, listen, no one's disagreeing on that. We're saying that after they ate the apple, it doesn't say they had opinions. It says after they ate the apple that they knew good and evil. They had knowledge of
So
good
they
and
had an
evil.
opinion.
They knew good and evil.
That's an opinion,
No, it
right?
says they know. They have knowledge of something. A knowledge claim is different than having an opinion.
Well, I could have a knowledge claim and have an opinion. That's what ends up happening in their case, right?
No, no, no. A knowledge
No,
claim,
because that's exactly what happens. They think that
not
they're in sin, they can't be
knowledge.
approached by
We'll
God,
try this
and
again.
actually that's a recurring thing.
Knowledge is different than opinions.
But it's a reoccurring thing in the Bible. It says that we can't go to God in sin, but God constantly comes to us in sin. So it is not just knowledge, it's an opinion.
It's not. We're talking about definitions of words. Knowledge is not an opinion.
They said that they got knowledge of good and evil, and
Mhm.
they had knowledge that they weren't supposed to be in the presence of God, even though God came to them. That's an opinion.
That's not what it says.
You're right. It doesn't say that in those direct words, but if we were to go to the like read it and then you look at it from an outside perspective, yeah, you can see it like that. You
You
ever like I don't
you
know.
think
I
sin
clearly
can't
you
be
don't
in
like.
God's presence?
I think that that's what we believe. Yeah,
Why?
because we believe that sin like brings us farther from God. Right.
What-
That's the idea.
Can God let
That's what.
sin in His presence?
Yeah, he does all the time. He goes straight to Adam as
Oh,
soon as they eat the apple. Adam, where are you?
so God can have sin in his presence. So what's the problem?
That sin distances us from him. That's
Why?
the idea, right?
Who created
Because
that
we
rule?
believe it to. That's the opinion that was made when we ate the
No,
apple.
who
That's the
created
thing,
the
you know.
rule?
What do you mean that sin distances us from him?
Yeah,
Because it does. Things were just good before, and now we have an
I
opinion.
know who created that consequence that when you sin, you'll be distanced.
We did. We ate the apple.
No, no, no. I didn't say who did the thing. I said who created the rule.
We did the thing that with the rules already in place. What do you
I know,
mean?
but who made the rules?
The rule was already in place. What do you
Yeah,
mean? It
yeah.
was just good
I
before.
know. And who made the rule?
The God, like, because everything
There
was
we
created by God. He
go.
lives
Okay,
before space and time. Yeah.
so God decided that sin would have that particular consequence. He didn't have to make that decision. Okay, so I'm just trying to get. I'm gonna ask you one more line of question here. Don't worry, don't have to read the Bible, but I want to see your take on divine command theory because I'm guessing you believe in divine command theory. So
To some extent, I heard what the other guy said. I think it's the baby paste thing's kind of wild, bro. No, if God told me to go make baby paste, no, I wouldn't do
I
it. But
didn't.
if God
I'm
wanted
not.
me to
Nope.
die for Jesus, then yeah.
I'm not asking you if you would do it. Okay. I'm asking you, would it be the right thing to do is to always obey God? So I'll give you a scenario. Like if God said, listen, I want you to go and just take all the toes of the babies, just chop all the toes off. You can let the babies up. Just take all the toes of the baby. And then what I need you to do is grind them up into ground meat and then cook hamburgers for your family with baby
God.
toes. Would it be right or wrong to obey God?
Can we add more context to this, or is this just the foundation of this?
That's it.
I think by your foundation, then yes, it would be wrong to obey God. But I do
No,
think that
wrong
you
to
should,
obey or disobey.
like, it'd be wrong to obey him. It goes against his commandments. Like,
No, no,
why
but
would
if
I want
God
to
tells
make
you to
a kid?
do it, then that means it's the right thing to do.
But how would I know it's God telling me to do it? God isn't contradictory, right? He's
It's
all just.
it's baked into the
He doesn't
analogy.
go against himself.
He does, but it's baked into the analogy. The analogy
I
assumes
get you think he does. I'm okay
no,
with
no,
that.
no. The analogy assumes that he said it and you know he said it.
The context, right? That's a big thing. So he would give me a reason why he said it, or no?
He just told you to do it.
I wouldn't do it, and I think it's wrong to do that. I'd hope that it's just schizophrenic voices in my head.
So was it wrong for Abraham to bind up his son Isaac and put him on the altar and try to put a knife in him?
Is that exactly how the story went? Because Isaac willingly went. Isaac said, "Yeah, put me." That's
Isaac
what I
had no
remember
idea
reading.
what was happening.
Until the last moment, and then Isaac said, "Yes, give God back to God what is God's." Come on, bro.
He didn't say that.
Do you want me to bring up the verses?
Yeah,
Because he doesn't just bound him and tie him.
in
He
Genesis
willingly goes.
22, he's literally told that God is going to provide the sacrifice as he's going to the altar.
Was Isaac forced? Dude, I remember reading about this. He wasn't forced to. He wasn't just bound, and Isaac was screaming, "Free me, free me!" That's not what happened.
He was not told what was going to happen.
You're right. He wasn't told until they were at the bottom of the hill, and
Nope.
who confronted him about it? His slave.
He wasn't told what's going to happen.
He was. He was confronted by his slave.
Nope.
He didn't even just go. You're making it seem like he just went with Isaac too. He just pulled away from Isaac.
He
Where were they going? What mountain did they go to?
Abraham never. It's Mount Moriah, but it doesn't really matter.
Who did he stop to? No, it does, because it does.
It
There's a whole
doesn't
story to
matter
this. He
because we're
stopped to
talking
give a
about
tithing to Melchizedek.
it's talking about whether or not he was told what was going to happen to him. He wasn't told he was going to die. Isaac was never told he was going to die. He assumed he was going to die. He should have assumed he was going to die. But Abraham told him the opposite. Abraham literally said that God will provide the sacrifice. It's not a long story. We can just read it.
You go for it.
Okay. Start at verse 1. After these things, God tested Abraham, and he said to him, Abraham, and he said, Here I am. He said, Take your son, your only son, Isaac. That's ironic since Ishmael exists, who you love, and you go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I will show you. So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took two of his young men with him and his son Isaac. He cut wood for the burnt offering and set out and went to the place in the distance God had shown him. And then it says, on the third day, Abraham looked up and saw the place far away. Then Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there, and we will worship, and then we will come back. So he literally tells the people that he and the boy are coming back. And then it says in verse 6, Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife, and the two of them walked together. Isaac said to his father Abraham, Father, and he said, here I am, my son. And he said, the fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for the burnt offering? Abraham said, God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son. And the two of them walked together. So Isaac didn't like willingly go to his death. He had no idea what was happening.
He was complacent.
But he didn't know what was happening. He
You
didn't
make it seem like he doesn't. He was just a boy lost.
he didn't yeah, he's a kid. He doesn't know he's about to get a knife stabbed in him.
How old is he?
He's a young lad, according to the story. We don't know his exact age. So the point that I'm making
We can guess
here,
he's old enough to walk around with him, right? So like 10, 8, maybe even like 7 at the
well,
lowest.
it says he's a young lad. That's a pretty wide range.
Yeah, but if you're walking from a mountainside with people, right? Like you're not just walking with a 2-year-old or a
Well, he's
3-year-old young
obviously
lad,
not
right?
two. He'd be a child then.
No, I get that. So we're gonna come to the consensus 6 to like 10, right? He's just a kid,
He's probably about 12, maybe 13.
and I'm pretty sure he has an idea of how the religion works, right?
Yeah, that's why he asked where the lamb for the sacrifice is. And then
So he was pretty complacent.
he didn't know he was being sacrificed. That's why he's complacent.
So God will provide. Goes up to a mountainside, and he just ties him up, and he goes, "Yeah, Dad, like don't do this, don't do this."
There you go.
That's not what I remember
Yes.
reading.
At that point, that's why that part of the story is not actually described, because I'm sure that was the horrific part. So pay attention to what's actually happening in the story. So he goes to the altar, he's bound, he's put on the altar. Now, at this point, once he's bound and placed on the altar, yeah, obviously he knows. We have no idea what his state of mind is. I assume he was terrified. Now, the original question why we're
I think
even
so.
talking about this story right now is whether or not God asked Abraham to do a good thing or a bad thing.
God was asking him to give back what was rightfully his.
Yes,
God was,
but is
yeah.
sacrificing your children good or bad?
By my justice means obviously no, but by God's justice,
But
yeah, it's his.
even in God's book, does he say that you should execute your sons and daughters as human sacrifices?
No, because that's against kind of what he does, right? That's the
Okay,
whole
so
idea. Like
executing
the whole idea of the one God is like fight against Baal and whatnot. That's why Enoch and Elijah and
okay.
all the
So
people, right?
child
So
sacrifice is bad, yet God
yeah,
said to do
negative.
it.
Hmm.
Okay, so sometimes God will ask you to do things that he doesn't want you to do.
In that, yeah, at one time in that case, yeah.
Okay, so in the example of Genesis 22, that means Abraham did the right thing by obeying the bad command of God.
Yeah, just like Job did the wrong thing when he didn't. So what? Not Job. Who am I thinking of?
Jonah.
Guy in the Jonah. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so then back to the baby paste. That means whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing, the right thing to do is to make the baby paste, isn't it?
Wouldn't God give me like an outage because God wouldn't let me make right?
I don't know if he will or he won't. All I'm saying is the right
Well,
thing to do.
he didn't let Abraham kill his kid, so clearly he could give me an out, right?
Listen, I don't know if he will or he won't. I think that's irrelevant to the question. The question is
I think it is. I think it
the
is.
question is whether or not you should be obedient.
I wouldn't,
No,
and Abraham was because he
I
was a good slave to God, and
I
I
didn't
saw him.
ask if you would. I'm asking about what is the right thing to do in your worldview. Is the right thing to do to obey God?
I would like to say yes. I would like to be like, yeah, I would obey him, but no, I don't think that's right because
I,
I'm a human that has
again, I
opinions.
didn't ask you if you would do it. All I'm saying is
But that's why I don't think it's right. That's what I'm
whether or
saying.
not it's right or wrong to obey God's command, even if you don't like the command.
I think to be morally just here, I think it's wrong to be obeying his command.
Okay, so disobeying God is right sometimes.
Sure,
So then you would just fail God's test then.
man, I do all the time.
No, no, no. I'm saying
Yes, yes,
it's
I would
good.
fail his test.
Okay, so
Bingo.
then it's good. I got to remove the baby paste counter now. So then it is good sometimes
Thank
to
you.
disobey
Thank you.
God.
Well, we see that all the time. Job disobeys him. Jonah disobeys him. He ends up
But
alive. Yeah, it's
he
good to
got
disobey God.
punished. I mean,
Yeah, but
he
he's
got
fine. He lived.
reprimanded. Okay.
Yeah, he got put inside of a whale.
Okay,
I'll take
so
that.
then sin is good.
I mean, sin could be objectively good by a person. Yeah, just like I think it's good to go steal a chocolate bar if I'm hungry or whatever to or
No,
give
no, no,
give the rich to the poor.
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
no, it's good to disobey God. Sin is disobeying God, right?
Yeah, it's because we live in this world. Yeah, that's my opinion. I smoke weed all the time. I'm a bad Christian.
But no, I'm asking if it's good.
Oh, so good. I love it.
No, no, no. In the Christian
Well, I'm being
worldview,
honest, man. I'm being
no,
honest.
in the Christian worldview, is sinning good?
No, because sinning is a bad thing. It distances you from God. It self distance. You like put a distance on it yourself because you don't. He doesn't actually step away from you. It's like you stepping from him.
Is it always a sin to disobey God?
Is it always a sin to disobey God?
Hmm.
I don't know. It's a good context. What does the Bible say on that? I believe that yeah, it would be right. Like you should be obeying God, but I don't obey Him all the time, so I'm sinning. And
Right. But I mean, as far as I can tell, disobeying God is always a sin. I mean, I can't think of a reason why it wouldn't be.
why wouldn't it? Okay, so but is it a worse sin than anything else? It's just a sin nonetheless. It's
I
the same
didn't
thing as like if I steal a chocolate bar or whatever.
I didn't say it was worse or better than anything else. So, but what I'm saying is, if it's always a sin to disobey God, that means disobeying God on the baby paste is a sin, and that distances you from God.
But he's never like written that. You're making a claim for God.
No, no, that's your claim.
No, your claim is that you baby paste and you're trying to justify it by means. I'm trying to say that I wouldn't listen to him and I think it's wrong.
We'll try this
And that the
again.
gospel teaches otherwise.
It's just a logical deduction. Okay, so if all disobeying God, anytime you disobey God, if that is a sin,
Hmm.
and all sin distances you from God, that means disobeying God in the baby paste distances you from God.
Just like if he tells you to rape somebody and you don't rape somebody, it would distance them. Yeah. So put a rape counter out there.
Yeah, that's true. I think we came to an agreement finally.
Okay. So I still believe God is good and you still believe that baby paste is necessary to believe in
Right,
God.
because yeah, you think raping women is good. That's fine.
I is that what I said? Now you're misconstruing my words.
No, it has to be because God caused it to happen.
What do you mean?
If God causes it to happen, it can't be bad. God can't do bad.
God caused people to rape people?
Yeah, on multiple
That just
occasions,
sounds like a
even.
listen, if you go to jail, man, or you go to court and they're like, "Listen, God made me do that," they're just gonna send you to jail.
So the Bible's wrong.
The what do you mean the Bible's wrong?
When the Bible says that God is causing it, the Bible wasn't being true.
I didn't say that it wasn't being true. Did I say that? That's not my argument for it. Are you trying to argue the truth of the Bible or not? You
No, you are.
personally don't believe in it.
You said God didn't cause it.
I don't believe that God intentionally went down and raped those people. No,
I didn't say God did it. I said God caused it.
I think that God was watching the circumstances from the outside, kind of how like if there was a multiverse and he's watching David do wrong to his son and things play out in a way in a time where rape is pretty common and there's harems and David's son didn't like him and it kind of like played out like in perfect terms. It's almost like he didn't even have to do anything. We let it happen to ourselves.
So then it wasn't a punishment.
Self punishment, right? Like he did it to
No,
himself.
no, it wasn't a punishment from God.
He was just like showing off like what was going to happen right to
No, no,
begin
no.
with.
If God didn't cause it to happen, that means it's not a punishment from God.
He just confirms that it is. That's what he gets the high priest to tell him,
I'm
right?
confused. Is it a punishment from God or not?
Well, you're claiming that it is, right? Or
I,
you're claiming that it isn't actually because
I'm
it affected the
asking
wrong
you,
people.
is it a punishment from God or not?
I think it is. Yeah, I think a lot of people were
That,
affected in that.
that
His
means he
son, his
caused it.
dad, his. I think that it was already in effect.
No,
I think he
then it's
caused
not
the
a
creation of the
punishment.
universe, and we make the decisions from there.
No, punishments are chosen. They're decisions, right? So if God punished him, that means he caused it. If God's
So
not,
if I dig a hole and I fall into the hole and I can't get out of the hole, that's not a self punishment.
no, we're not talking about
No,
self punishments. We're talking about what God did.
but like how I read this story and how it's taught at least is that like David pretty much dug himself a hole and he jumped in the hole and now he's doing
No,
bad.
that's not how it's taught. So to try to track me here, we're talking about God's punishments. Okay, we're not talking about if you do something dumb, will there be consequences in the real world? We're talking about God's punishments. Did God punish David using this method or not?
Yeah, I think he was punished to some extent. Yeah, for
Okay,
sure.
so
I think a lot of people were
if
punished.
God use this as a punishment and God says, I'm doing it, that means God's responsible for it.
In this case, sure.
Yeah, obviously, which means what happened to the wives was God's decision. He caused it to happen,
Sure.
which means you're okay with a God that has women raped for the crimes of their husband.
Because I live by the Old Testament and I like the Old Testament God so much, and I talk about how great the Old Testament God
It's the
is.
same God as the New Testament God.
Uh,
It's true.
if you grab those pillars of what he stands on, none of this is valid. No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't have made people rape each other. He wouldn't. If I remember
How many
correctly,
gods are
too,
there?
is one God, and God at one point talks about in the Bible
There
that
you go.
we are.
So it's the
What
same
about?
God. If there's one God, it's the same God,
Look,
whether
there's
no matter what
verses in the
testament
Bible
you're
that talk
in.
about how. Look, no, wait, pause. There's verses in the Bible that talk about how after well, you can just laugh. It's fun, but it's what I believe at least, and I think it comes from some theological or historical evidence. Maybe not historical, in this case theological. Um, Babylon, when it was a thing, and they made the Tower of Babel, it says that after they were all dispersed, that he left us to the gods. So if there's only one God, what gods did he leave us to?
That's not what. Okay. What version of the Bible are you reading?
Man, sorry that I gotta Google everything. I don't have everything like on deck. I'm just a dude that was waiting in line. I'm just the guy. I don't know if that's apparent or not. I think it's pretty clear.
Are you referring to when he said, "Let us come down"?
No.
I don't know of anything in Genesis 11 that says that God left us to the other gods.
Yeah, it says God abandons us and he lets somebody rule over us.
It's not in the tower story.
Um.
You talk about the Tower of Babel. That's Genesis 11.
Yeah, 10 and 11, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's in 10, is it? Just 11, I thought.
I don't know. I was googling. I'm just like roughing. I'm looking right now, man.
I mean, nevertheless, you believe there's only one real God, and you believe that it's the same God in the Old Testament as it is in the New Testament, which means it doesn't
To
matter
some
what.
extent, yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter what God did in the Old Testament. It's the same God. And shit, in your belief, if you're a Trinitarian, then you have to think that Jesus was okay with it.
Okay with letting this all happen.
Yeah, why wouldn't he be?
Okay with the consequences, sure. I'm not okay with how things are going down. I think that's why he
So,
stepped in and played self-sacrifice.
so Jesus and Yahweh disagreed about David's punishment.
I say they disagreed. Three persons in one, right? So
Are they not in one?
I said they are in one. They work in harmony, right?
Okay, does Jesus and the Father always agree?
In the way of father son do, yeah.
No, I mean, do they agree
Yeah, the way of
on
father son do, yeah.
on all things?
Yeah, in the way of father son do, yeah.
So they agree on everything.
Yes, in the same
So
way a father and a son does.
then they would have agreed on the punishment handed out to David and his wives and children.
I think a father and a son have similar opinions and they would come to the same conclusion, but no, there's a thing of like sacrifice and forgiveness, right? Like that's the whole ongoing trend of this. Like, so I know that you're trying to take the story and just be like, look, there is no grace, there is no sacrifice to this, but
I didn't
there
say
must
anything
be.
about
Like, I don't know the
grace.
context for any of this. I would have to look into the whole story of David and Bathsheba to really give you a better conclusion on whether I think that was completely unjust or not. As of right now, I don't think it's good for anybody, which I made very clear, to suffer to somebody else's sins unless it's them choosing to willingly.
Yeah. Why does God seem so like hyped to do it all the time? He brags about it in Exodus 34:7.
He brags about punishing other people for other people's sins.
Yeah, he says that he will visit the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and the children's children into the third and the fourth generation.
Oh, okay, that's where I believe there's a generational thing where it's like you do something for enough time, it does like impact. Where like kind of like mental illness, it goes through like the generations.
Well, that's genetic. I'm talking about punishments.
Yeah, I'm saying that like some sin can be genetic. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Sin is genetic?
I'm saying some sin can be genetic. Like people do it.
Yeah, but I'm talking
Some
about
somebody said twice baked. I'm four times baked. Continue.
I'm talking about punishments though, right? So like if I commit a crime, should my children's children be punished for it?
I think they can be if they're doing the same crime, but I don't think they should be. No.
Right. But God does it. God says he will visit the iniquity of the fathers upon the children. And then we see that happening in the Bible. When he did with the Amalekites in 1 Samuel 15:3, he punished them for what their forefathers did 400 years ago.
Which was
So the Amalekites, when in Exodus chapter 17, when the Israelites were coming up out of Egypt, they crossed by the Amalekite territory, and the Amalekites was like, I don't think so. And they went out and they fought with Israel. And then God was so mad that he's like, hey, listen, I'm going to wipe all these Amalekites out eventually. And then 400 years later, he finally gets around to doing it, and he kills all the men, women, children, and babies.
so. This sounds like a city war type thing, right? Like one city against the other, and then the people like being punished for sins that happen over like a generation, right?
Well, about 400 years, so quite a few generations.
I don't know why Siri was going on it. Sorry. I don't know the context for this. I don't know why they should have been punished or not. I can't like justify it, obviously.
Right. And these are difficult Bible passages. So I bring you to these Bible passages because I don't think a lot of people are reading them, and they are difficult if you actually break them down.
I'm gonna be honest. That's why I don't like reading the Old Testament. It's brutal.
It is brutal. And when I was a Christian, the Old Testament was very difficult to read because there's a lot of shit in there that
It's much worse than the New Testament. Yeah.
it's hard to justify. And the problem that we find is even in like the character of Jesus, Jesus says to follow the law forever. He says in Matthew 5:17 through 19, that anyone who teaches people not to follow the law would be called great in the king, or sorry, least in the kingdom of heaven. And people who follow the law and teaches others to follow the law would be called great. So like Jesus seems to think that the law of Moses is a good thing.
Like the 1 to 10, right?
That's the law and the prophets,
Or
all
are
of
you
it,
just talking about like the 612?
all of them. That's the law of Moses.
Yeah, but we don't. What like looking at his life and what he teaches, he doesn't follow all of them. He makes the Jews eat unclean food. He makes them do a lot of the sins. So would
Actually,
you say that he's just being a hypocrite?
Actually, I don't think that happened. In
It
Mark
it
chapter
does.
s
He makes him eat grain on one of the Sabbaths. He make like
that's not
people
a
are always coming up.
that's not a law. There's no law against plucking heads of grain on the Sabbath.
They were cussing him for like working. Wasn't that the idea?
The Pharisees were because he broke the tradition of the elders. The tradition of the elders is a reference to the oral law that's we now have in the Jewish Talmud. So the tradition of the elders was external to the law of Moses, and we see constantly that Jesus is disagreeing with the Pharisees on this particular issue. He chastises the Pharisees for not keeping the law of Moses and keeping the tradition of the elders instead.
Well, what do you have against the law of Moses, the 1 to 10? Are you talking about all 612?
That's what I'm saying. There's no such thing as just the 1 to 10 laws of Moses. Like the laws of Moses are all the laws of Moses.
Yeah, but at least what I'm taught and what I read through the New Testament is that he talks about the 1 to 10,
I,
what comes down on the Mount Canaan,
I've
and
never
then
seen
you're
it.
just saying that it's all 612.
I've never seen a single instance where Jesus or literally anybody in the New Testament said that the law of Moses was only the 10 Commandments,
No, you're right, but they don't live by all 612. It's very
but
clear,
they do.
but they don't.
No, Christians don't. The Jews did,
So wait a second.
and
They
Jesus
send
did.
letters to other churches talking about not having to get circumcision. They do a bunch of these things.
Mhm.
What are you talking about?
What I'm saying is
The
that
Jews lived by their Jewish rules, yeah, but they didn't force anybody when they came to Christ. What do you mean?
after Jesus died, they changed the rules. Jesus didn't say to do that. Jesus said to follow the law.
Yeah, until then, because that's what they had to do.
No,
The chosen people of God, right?
he didn't
The
say
Israelites.
he didn't say until.
But that was the idea. He came with the New Testament, and then everything changed. Like he died, right?
Mm-mm.
The new covenant,
No, no,
the new blood of Christ.
that was invented after he died. If you read Matthew 5, Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to
but
fulfill."
to fulfill it, yeah.
Yeah, fulfill doesn't mean abolish, though.
Okay, I didn't say that all the rules were taken. What is your biggest complaint about all this?
What I'm saying is, you're trying to run away from the laws of Moses, and you can't really do it the way you want to. You want to
What are the laws of Moses that I need to be following today then to be a Christian?
well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask Jesus, you need to follow all the laws as best you can. If you don't believe in the words of
Does he
Jesus
tell
and you
that to
believe
everybody?
in the words of Paul, then you wouldn't.
But does he tell that to everybody?
He does say it. Want to read the passage?
You can go at it. I don't.
Okay. It says, "For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass away from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments," and whoever is not a closed statement, it's anyone, whoever, right?
Mhm.
So he said, "Whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven." So what he's saying is that it's better to follow the commandments than to not follow them.
I think there's this big thing, and at least this is what I'm being taught, is that there's the Sadducees and the Pharisees, and then some come with spiritual perspective, and that they are rulers on the Jewish people, and the other ones come with laws that govern the people and them on a country base. And Jesus came against the people that were trying to turn the religion into a thing, like to fight against Rome. Like everybody thought that he was going to be the Messiah for a revolution. Like that's not what he came for.
But
He came to abide by the law, right?
but that's the problem. The prophets all said he was going to come and defeat their enemies and be the king.
Yeah, but they're two different prophecies, right? Like one says that he comes as a servant, one says that he comes to break us free. Which
Oh
one comes
no.
first?
Neither. There's only one prophecy about the Messiah. There's a couple, but they're all say the same
Yeah, I was
thing.
gonna say there's some that say that he's coming as a servant to be
No,
pierced for our iniquities. Yeah,
no,
what
I
do you
don't
mean?
think that exists at all. I think that's a
He
misreading.
references on no, he references it on the cross
Yeah,
too. David, literally,
now
that's
you're
one of the
confusing Psalm 22 with Isaiah 53, and Jesus didn't say it was even a prophecy.
he would- Jesus has to confirm that it's a prophecy.
But I don't think it is a prophecy. Psalm 22 is a psalm, not a prophecy. What do you think a
Which
prophecy
is
is?
a calling, God, like a calling to the future.
Yeah, Psalm 22 is not doing any of that. Psalm 22 is King David writing about his own struggles in the present tense.
And what does it say that we will be redeemed through King David's
No, it doesn't say anything about anyone
lineage?
being
Yeah,
redeemed.
it does. Yeah, we all of humanity is redeemed through King David's
Does not
lineage.
say that in Psalm 22.
You're right. It's not specifically in Psalm. You're making it seem like I'm not taking context from the rest of
No,
the Bible, bro.
nothing you said is in Psalm 22. You're conflating Psalm 22 with Isaiah 53.
What do you what do you mean? Like, are you talking about how like when David is complaining about his life and whatnot, you're saying that that's not a prophecy?
It's not. No. Writing a song of lament is not a prophecy.
A song of lament. That's how you see it as.
That's literally what it is. Because you don't believe that all of David's psalms are prophecies. You only like this one, and you only like one
I don't think he
paragraph.
was a divine prophet like Islam believes that all the prophets were good and they all come with divine messages. I believe that some of them come with messages and their messages for whatever whatever's set out, right?
Yeah, but prophecies need to at least be in the future tense if they're predicting the future.
In future tense. And
Yeah,
what that doesn't?
no, it doesn't. It's all
It
present
just talks about
tense.
his lament.
Yep, it's all present tense. This is what's happening to me.
And that doesn't happen to Christ. That same like when he references,
It's not a prophecy. I don't.
but it's all happening to him those things, right?
But no, it doesn't.
So he isn't pierced his hands and feet. They don't take off his clothes and then
It
pay money for it.
well, it doesn't say his hands and feet were pierced in Psalm 22.
I'm Well, what does it say then? I don't have the thing right in front of me. I'll have to search it up myself
That's
then.
the fun part. Psalm 22 verse 16 famously has about 10 different interpretations because the Hebrew that
My God, why are you so far from me? Why have you forsaken me? So my fries cry in anguish. My God.
verse 16 is the one you want.
All the way down, eh?
Mhm.
Dogs surround me, a pack of villains encircle me, they pierce my hands and my feet. Yeah, all my bones are on display.
Yeah, I'm going to show you the problem. Mine says, "For the dogs are all around me, a company of evildoers encircle me. They bound my hands and my feet. I can count
Mhm.
all my bones. They stare and gloat over me." Now, some translations say something completely different. Some translation says, "Like a lion at my hands and my feet." Other translations will say, "They dig at my hands and my feet." Some say, "My hands and my feet shriveled." And the reason why all these translations disagree
Do
is because the Hebrew
you say they
text.
disagree, but if we were to put them all into context to what happened to Christ, does that not he shrivels his hands and feet, he was whipped a bunch, his bones were showing, they act like wolves, like lions. I don't know, man, I think
Well,
you're being picky here.
I'm not being picky. I'm talking about what words mean, and I'm trying to illustrate to you why none of the translations agree. Okay, so having your hands and your feet pierced is a fundamentally different word than having your hands and your feet bound. Different words. Now, the reason
Where his feast like, wasn't he pierced and bound? You can't just do both, like, can't just
I
crucify
don't
somebody by
think we were not told that he's bound to the cross, but it's also irrelevant. We're talking about the meaning of the word in the text. And the word in the text, if it was going to be pierced in Hebrew, should be dakar. That doesn't show up in the text. What we actually have is a word that is clearly either somebody misspelled or it's been damaged and lost to history. Because what we actually have in the passage is one of two different Hebrew words. It's ka'ari, which means like a lion, which is why the Jewish Publication Society reads like a lion at my hands and my feet. Or if you go with the Dead Sea Scrolls, like the oldest one in the Nehal Never scroll, Nehal Hever, it doesn't say that. It actually gives you a word that's not a real word. It says ka'aru, and ka'aru is not a real Hebrew word. Either somebody made a
what would it
mistake.
mean then?
It doesn't mean anything. It's not a real word. That's what I'm saying.
So what would they have in place of that? We're just saying that the word because we don't know, like, we'll never know that word, we're screwed for life
That's what
now?
I'm saying. Uh, Outside of the Masoretic text, our oldest Hebrew text don't have a real word. It's obviously a mistake, and people are guessing as to which word they thought was in there. It could be the verb kara, which means to dig, which is why some translations say they dig at my hands and my feet, meaning the dogs that are around him. Some translations say ka'ari, and the reason why ka'ari is popular is because ka'aru and ka'ari, the only difference between the ending of the word is whether or not the little yod got elongated. And it was very common for yods to accidentally get elongated as the text was transmitted. And so most translations by the Jews understand that this is probably the case that happened, and it probably read like a lion because he's depicting his struggles as being attacked by a bunch of dogs, a bunch of lions, a bunch of bulls of Bashan. And so that's how they do that. So all I'm saying is some
But weren't they doing that to Jesus as well? They were around him, they're yelling at him, they're chasing him, like, that sounds like dogs or lions barking to me, man.
no, I agree. David is using metaphors for what is happening to him.
And Jesus references those metaphors, that's
Why
what
do
I'm
I
trying to get
care?
at. Because he's not Jewish doing it for
But
fun.
but
He says that he lies his own life down, he dies on the cross, it's an event that happens,
but it's
and
not
he's doing this all.
prophesied.
He's prophesying, he's mentioning
He's
that,
not.
"Look, in the past it was
David's
said,
not
and this is what I'm
prophesying.
saying now." No, no, I'm saying Jesus is.
But
And you're claiming that David never
David
did.
didn't prophesy this is what I'm saying.
I think it's prophetic, I think it
It's
is,
not
it's
prophetic.
a semblance. Why wouldn't it be?
Why would it be? There's nothing in here about the future.
What I'm if I'm this is what I believe about, like, how it goes is Jesus, it comes down the lineage of obviously Eve, and it says that he will, like, our change will be broken from David's lineage because he's king forever or some stupid shit. And then well, what is it called? That it comes through Eve. So, like, isn't that like a whole, like, connection thing there where, like,
That's
when Jesus comes he's referencing to
again,
show the lineage?
again, the Bible doesn't say that. But anyways, what I'm saying is that prophecies are a clear actual form of speech. Like you can't just go to anything in the Bible and be like, shit, that sounds like something that happened to somebody else later. We're going to call it a prophecy. That's not how prophecy works.
Yeah, but he referenced it for fun.
No, he referenced it because he was suffering like David. So in the first century,
He was suffering like David?
the most famous writings of the Old Testament were the laments of David because the people had suffered continuously under the Greeks, under the Romans, and they believed that the writings of David helped to embody their own anguish. And certainly it did. And I'm sure when Jesus was on the cross, he probably felt like David's writings did a good job of embodying his anguish. But that doesn't mean it becomes a prophecy.
didn't okay, if I'm correct or not, uses parables galore. He understands the gods around him. He understands literature.
I
You're
don't think he
telling me there's
does.
no oh, at all. Okay, so
I mean, I know
he
he doesn't. He can't even speak Hebrew. He can't even read it.
spoke Aramaic and barely understood. What do you mean?
I
What do you
don't
mean?
believe he knew what was in the Hebrew Bible because he misquotes it. In fact, he says in Matthew 22, he completely misunderstands what's happening in Psalm 110. He thinks David is speaking in Psalm 110, and you would only believe that if you read it in Greek. If you read it in Hebrew, it's clear that it's not David speaking, it's a prophecy to King David.
That's a prophecy to King David. You're saying
Yeah, it says it. It says
like Psalm 22.
an oracle of Yahweh to my master.
So this was saying to him. You're saying.
That yes, exactly. It's someone from King David's court, maybe Asaph, who is giving a prophecy from Yahweh to the king. Which is clear again if you read it in Hebrew. The only problem is if you read it in Greek, because in the English
So
Bible when
it doesn't say that King David will rule forever, like through his lineage,
no, it says his throne will be established forever,
through his lineage.
obviously through his lineage, but Jesus wasn't part of David's lineage.
Joseph, his adopted father, was.
He wasn't born to Joseph.
You're right. He wasn't. I said his adopted father
Sure.
was
Listen,
from
if you
David.
want to say he came from the line of David because somebody
That's what
adopted him, be my guest. I think that's weak.
I'm okay with you thinking that that's weak. That's what I believe, though.
No, I know you believe it. I just think that's weak. I think someone should be born from the actual line of David, not adopted into it.
Why? Isn't
Uh,
that the whole idea of God that we're adopted into His love?
because the Old Testament doesn't say you're going to adopt somebody into my family. It says that I will establish your lineage forever.
So and I think He does, and you're making the claim that He doesn't.
I don't think it does. I think adoption's weak. I think it's a cope, is what I think.
A
Also,
cope.
and also, it doesn't really fix the problem, which is that if you actually read the genealogies, both of them are wrong. For example, it says in Matthew that it goes through the line of Jeconiah, and Jeconiah was cursed. In Jeremiah 22, it says that none of his descendants will ever sit on the throne of King David. So Matthew screwed the pooch
Oh,
there.
so maybe there is like a double standard there. Maybe there wasn't somebody supposed to actual figure because people think that there was supposed to be a throne that's risen in Israel again, right?
Well, the prophets said so. The prophets said that the Messiah would be a king on the throne and that the Levitical sacrifices will continue. Want to read an
And I
actual messianic prophecy?
no, I get that, but I think that they did continue. They were fulfilled once and for all with the
No,
resurrection of Christ.
nope.
You're saying no.
Completely wrong according to the prophets. Want me to read
What do you mean?
you why?
Go for it.
Okay, here's an actual prophetic word about the Messiah. This is from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 33. The days are surely coming, says the Lord, when I will fulfill the promise that I made to the house of Israel and the house of Judah. In those days and at that time, I will cause a righteous branch to spring up for David. He shall execute justice and righteousness in the land. Now, we understand that the branch from David is the Messiah, right?
Yeah.
All right. It says, in those days, Judah will be saved, Jerusalem will live in safety, and this is the name by which it will be called. The Lord is our righteousness. First problem, Jesus didn't do that. Second problem is verse 17 and 18. For thus saith the Lord, David shall never lack a man to sit on the throne of the house of Israel, and the Levitical priests shall never lack a man in my presence to bring burnt offerings and to make grain offerings and to make sacrifices for all time. Burnt offerings and grain offerings are very specific Mosaic offerings.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're saying that none of that was completed by the perfect sacrifice
No.
because they need to be that specific.
Yeah, a burnt offering and a grain offering are real things in the law of Moses, and they're not even the same offering.
Yeah, that's why there's the division right between the burnt and the.
Yeah, they're different offerings.
And you're saying that because of a sacrifice like the one of Abraham, that doesn't do it.
No, I didn't say anything. What I'm saying is that when the Messiah comes, according to Jeremiah 33, the Levitical priests will still be giving offerings. That's what it says.
Isn't that what they're trying to do in Israel right now? Bring back the third temple and continue the offerings,
The Levitical
the red
priests,
heifer and stuff.
when the Messiah is here, he will be on the throne and there will be Levitical sacrifices, which is a contradiction because the book of Hebrews says that he's the final sacrifice.
If God is not bound by time, why can't he just come back and do these things? I don't understand. Like you're making
Because
it seem like he's bound by like by like when these things need to be played out.
you can't be the final sacrifice and then bring back sacrifices.
I think you can. Yeah.
No, he can't by
Yeah, because
definition.
he says he makes it very clear that the ultimate love is sacrifice, and that like if you want to embody the love that he showed you, it's by self-sacrifice. So I think you can.
We'll try this again. You're bending the word sacrifice. The book of Hebrews says Jesus is the final sacrifice, referring to him dying,
Bingo.
which means there won't be any future sacrifices, which means we
Yeah, for
shouldn't
sin.
which means we shouldn't be expecting the Levitical sacrifices to come back.
What would you consider a Levitical? Like, what is the definition of that, and why were they doing it being done,
Burnt offerings, grain offerings, wave
and why?
offerings
They're to do something, right? Like versus like the other ones. Why were those so particular?
to forgive sins, to give goodwill,
Those
to
ones
do the
forgave
first
sins. No,
fruits.
those ones, if I were
No, the burnt
correct,
offering
they
is
were just a
typically for forgiving sins.
yeah, but it didn't actually forgive the sin. It was just a
It did.
to hold them over until they actually did a sacrifice.
No, it forgave the sins.
It just forgave the sins, the burnt
They're
offering.
literally called atoning sacrifices.
Burnt. I was taught that there's a difference between the burnt offerings and the sacrifice that they do at the end of the year for all of Israel.
Oh, you're referring to Leviticus 16, the Day of Atonement, when they do the congregational sins, not the individual sins.
What do you mean?
So Leviticus 16 is about the sins of the entire congregation. The individual
Yeah,
sacrifices, those are for the individuals when they become aware.
yeah. To like, but delay them until that main day happens, so then they're all atoned for. No,
No, they receive the atonement even before the Day of Atonement.
for a burnt offering.
So Leviticus 16 is about congregational sin because when you're a group of people, if one person sins, it spreads. It spreads to the temple, it spreads to the outer courts, it spreads to the other people that are there. It's like a yeast in the leaven, it spreads, right? So you need
Yeah,
to have one
basically.
sacrifice that deals with the congregational spread of sin, not the individual sin. And that was how that worked.
And that doesn't atone for single sin as well. It's just for the group.
Yeah, it's for the group. Yeah, yeah. That's why you had individual sins. That's why it says in Leviticus when someone becomes aware of their sin, whether intentional or unintentional, here's the offerings to bring, right? So,
But wouldn't it make sense? I could be wrong, but if the whole group's forgiven of sin, doesn't that mean that they have no sin in that moment, right?
no, it means the group becomes purified of the sin that they had already committed. And then they're
Yeah,
going to
which they
go
become aware
on.
of. Yeah.
Then they're going to go on and they're going to commit more sins.
Yeah, and if they do it on a solo basis, they atone for it solely, right? But then
Right. Yes. And if Jesus was the last sin sacrifice, then we shouldn't see them coming back again.
like the burnings you're saying and like these rituals.
Yeah, we don't need sin offerings if Jesus was the last one.
But wouldn't they bring it back just for the like the prophecy? Isn't that the idea?
No, they wouldn't. It would be unnecessary and it would contradict Hebrews. Why would they bring back sin offerings if the sins were already dealt with by Jesus?
But the Hebrews don't believe that. I don't understand your
The the book of Hebrews says that Jesus was the final sacrifice, right?
yeah.
Okay. What that means is that now that the Messiah has given us the final sacrifice, there's no need for other sacrifices. And the people that are with the Messiah in Jeremiah 33, they're with the Messiah.
hmm
They have Levites giving sin sacrifices.
In that yeah, that's what you're saying for the future, like for the prophecy to make sense.
Yeah. The prophecy states that when the Messiah is present, there will always be somebody on that throne, and the Levitical priests will continually be giving these sacrifices.
On Israel, like,
In Israel, yeah.
but nobody's on that throne yet, so Can't he just come back and do that? I guess I get what you're saying, it's unnecessary, but it could still be, like, done. It has nothing to do with it
No
not
one's
being done.
asking, could it be done? We're asking why it contradicts the book of Hebrews. If he's the final sacrifice, then it
It's not like a
doesn't make
contradiction, it just sounds unnecessary,
it.
right?
It is a contradiction. Either he's the final sacrifice or he's not.
I mean, that can't be done as a ritual, clearly, like, it's very ritualistic,
So
right?
God just wants you to ritualistically kill a bunch of animals for fun.
No, well, that's where I come to the conclusion of at least this is what I believe, that, like, that Jesus comes so we don't do any of that, right? There's no point at all in any of that ritual.
Then why is
I
God
think that's the
predicting
idea,
that that's what's going to happen when the Messiah comes?
because that's what people do. People still do shit like that. Like, I don't like, you see that all the time. What are you
I
talking about?
don't. Do you know anyone doing that?
You're gonna deny the fact that people in the Middle East and people in in Africa don't, like, kill animals all the time to forgive them of sins? What are you talking about?
I listen. I don't think they
You're right.
do.
I don't know directly of my friends or family that do any of that, but I could tell you coming from Brazil, there's this thing called it's kind of like black magic, I guess. I forgot what it's like. It's like a ritualistic thing,
Yeah,
and they do that. They do
but do
sacrifices
they
and
believe
whatnot.
that Jesus is the Messiah?
No, you're right. They don't have these this context of the last sin and
Okay,
then
because
doing these rituals.
well, just pay attention because in Jeremiah 33, the people doing the sacrifices are God's people. The Levitical priests are doing it. They work for the king, the Messiah. The Messiah is having them do these sacrifices that are completely meaningless.
You're trying to make the argument that, like, the Messiah is going to have these Levitical people do these ritualistic things,
Yeah, it says so. It says in Ezekiel too.
and that these things can't be done in a spiritual sense. That it have to be physically on the throne in Israel, and Jesus is going to make them do it.
Yeah, does it say spiritual? Does it say it's just going to happen this way?
It just says I'm not trying to make an inference or something. I'm
Right.
just
I mean, you don't pay spiritual taxes. Like you don't bring a
I
prayer to pay
don't
your
pay a spiritual
taxes.
tax.
You don't pay your taxes spiritually.
I think you do. That's conviction, right? That's the Holy Spirit.
No, you don't.
Heart of stone to flesh, but whatever.
When you pay your taxes, you give them your money.
Yeah, it's like yeah, a tithing of sorts. In this case, to the government for roads and whatnot.
Yeah. All right, listen, Lucky. I think we've covered enough ground. I've got time for maybe one more guest, and then I've got to read some super chats because
Go at it.
my curfew is
Thanks for having me.
5 o'clock.
I have a question for you though, real quick,
Mhm.
before I bounce out of here too. Um, the real reason I'm a Christian, and I'd like you to just give your opinion on this. Maybe it's just is not because I've just read the Bible, was grown up on it. I actually strayed away from it a long time ago, and I'm back to it now. I had a dream where I met Jesus, and it was a very short conversation. It was the rapture was happening, and I was going to heaven, and he was like, You get in?" And I'm like, "I get in for free," and he nods at me, and I'm like, "I don't deserve to be in." And then he still nods at me, and then I end up crying real hard, and I'm like, "But I gotta win myself in." And then he said it was finished, and I remember waking up, and I was hugging him in the palm of his hand. All of that seems very biblical to me. That gift, that salvation is a gift, and that it's all of this stuff, and that I'm just.
No, the rapture's
Was this
not
just like a
biblical.
dream that I had, and it was just all delusion?
Yeah,
I'm okay with that then.
there's no rapture in the Bible.
No, I get that, but I'm saying, was this just an all a delusion dream that was gospel based? I guess.
Yeah, it happens to people in all different religions. Your dreams are typically bound up by the culture that you were in. For example, if you're in the Hindu culture and you have a dream that involves God, it's always the Hindu gods.
I do believe that people do have dreams that. Okay, how about near death experiences? A lot of people do come to the same conclusion that there is a God, and that it might not be the God of Abraham, but there is this oneness, and they all come to get salvation as a gift.
Well, first of all, that contradicts your worldview because you believe the Bible is the correct worldview. But also, we've done studies on near death experiences, and it turns out that nobody can actually confirm a real near death experience. Like, so for
So these people
example,
don't have them.
no, they don't. It's their hallucinations in your brain.
I think that's an easy way to just back out of
It's
everything.
not. You want to see why that is?
Just because hormones are released and everybody has a similar experience.
They don't have similar experiences. You want to hear why?
I mean, they sound pretty synonymous to what people on psychedelics or even like the similar experiences of other people dying have. So I don't know what you're talking
I
about.
agree. Do you know we've studied this? Do you know there are professionals studying this right now?
Yeah, no, that's I'm trying
Okay.
to stay on tune to it. That's why. Yeah,
Now,
but
the professionals who are actually studying it have set up real laboratory type settings to study it, getting real firm results. So I think the best person doing this right now is Sam Parnia. He just finished his second study in 2023. He'll probably be doing another one soon. He did two studies, the Aware Project number 1 and the Aware Project number 2. And what he was doing was he was taking people, and he had 25 different hospitals retrofitted with things you could only see if you left your body, like because everyone reports leaving their body during their near-death experiences. And then
Yeah,
when people
the
claimed,
documentary I watched, it claims that it, like, talks about this guy actually.
so yeah, exactly. So when people claim to be leaving their body, what happens is none of them can actually validate that they witnessed anything that they should have been able to witness had they left their body. We've done
So if there are some people who can validate, would you consider it?
no one ever has.
So if you have you never watched the movie Life After Death? I get that it's Christian based, but there are people in there who claim to, and there are doctors that can back them.
I've never seen a doctor validate one.
Well, this is a documentary, so then instead of it just being like you can look into that yourself, right?
I'm more than happy to look over any study you want me to look at, but I don't
It's
think
just a
I
documentary,
don't
and then
think
you.
I don't think anecdotal stories are all that helpful if we can't reproduce it.
No, you're right, but like if they can reproduce it, right? Like this is one case, and then it's in the documentary, and she recalls, and the doctors can confirm on it what happened to the surgery.
Right.
And the surgery was pretty intensive. It's where they take out most of the blood of your body, stop your heart rate, and they lower your brain sensitivity, and they keep like electrodes to make sure that your brain function isn't too high,
Yeah,
and they
sure.
do very invasive surgeries.
What did she see that she wouldn't have been able to see?
Apparently, she was able to describe the surgery in depth, and the doctors were in shock because she was dead.
What was her surgery?
It was supposed to be a removal of a gall-sized tumor in the size of her brain.
Did she know she was getting a gall-sized tumor removed?
That's it. Yeah,
It doesn't seem very hard to guess what was gonna happen.
she described the surgery, like what people did, what
Mhm,
people said during the surgery when she shouldn't have heard anything. That's what
mhm.
I'm
You
trying
know,
to
some
get at.
people are aware even under anesthesia, right?
She was dead, like, clinically. There was no blood on
Well
her body, heart rate was lowered. If you wanna
well
justify by
well,
any means you
that's
can,
well,
I'm
that's
okay.
the whole point behind the AWARE project. If you read the conclusion of the AWARE project, is that sometimes the signs of death doesn't mean they're actually dead. The brain is still actually functioning.
So your argument is her brain was functioning the whole time?
Yeah. And we have lots of examples of this happening. Even in comas, people have what is perceived sometimes as being brain dead states, and then it turns out they're not actually completely brain dead. Like what we're rethinking what it means to be dead because of all the new data we've collected.
So, when she recalls what happens, it's just, "Oh, she was more aware, she was alive," and then when she goes, "Oh, I also had an experience before," you go, "Honky day, that was just you getting high off of drugs."
Yeah.
I'm okay with that argument then, I'm okay with a little bit of spiritual in this world butter.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. Best of luck to you. I would,
Thanks for having me, this was fun. Your thing's entertaining, I like to watch.
yeah. I mean, come back anytime. Just know that in future conversations, we always stick to the text.
Clear enough, but, I'm glad that you know that I'm not a baby-based guy, even though God's gonna tell me to do it or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Stay away from baby paste.
I will, I will.
I'll give you credit. You didn't cave in the baby paste.
I can't, man. Even if God's gonna tell me to make baby paste, I'm not gonna do it. And if he does, I hope I find an outing if I do it. God,
All right. Well, at
that's
least you get
horrible.
you get
That's
a W
horrible.
for that. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers, buddy. Be safe.
You too. Take it easy.